All right, so this might be a little bit controversial. I might get some more hate mail directed my way from some individuals. Who cares though, guys? I just like to be honest about this. The top 10 worst EVs, the cars that I recommend you don't buy. No matter what, you don't buy them unless they're like free. Then, take one for free. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. These are the 10 worst EVs. And I'm not rating them as the absolute worst cars, but they're the worst because of a combination of things: price, range, performance, ride quality, problems with like fires and batteries that just do terrible things, recalls. How many recalls have they been involved in? Number one, and this is actually a new EV. I don't have some of these are older, but some of them are brand new. And this is the Toyota Hilux EV. I'd call this the white elephant. So, this is a classic compliance style EV that misses the mark on the things that ute buyers actually need. The problem: it's one of the most expensive EVs per kilometer of range in the entire world. And it's not a luxury car. Toyota in Australia announced the Hilux EV starts at a price of $75,000 before on-road costs and about 54,000 US dollars. Toyota's global material says it uses a tiny 59 kilowatt hour battery. That's more than the battery in some small hatchbacks. It has only 240 kilometers of range. 240 kilometers. I mean, yeah, in most countries, that might not be a huge deal. But in Australia, we don't have DC fast chargers frequently enough for this vehicle to even be able to get from one state to another. It's also pretty slow charging, 150 kilowatt DC. I mean, I think that's the slowest charging speed for a car costing more than around $75,000. In addition to that, its towing capacity for a pickup truck is horrendous, 2,000 kilos. Guys, there's some SUVs that tow more than that. Plus, its ground clearance. It's got less ground clearance than a Subaru Solterra. It's 212 millimeters. It's also incredibly slow, 10 seconds 0 to 100. EVs are meant to be reasonably fast. This thing is just a dinosaur. So for reference, 245 kilometers of range, that is 152 miles, but that is NEDC. WLTP range might be 220 kilometers. For that price, the battery is way too small and the thing is just not built for purpose. All right, the second car on my list, and I got roasted for this hundreds of times by commenters on YouTube, and not even YouTube, but Reddit and all kinds of places. I predicted that Fisker would go bankrupt. And man, even fans of this channel tore me to shreds for that. When I said I predicted they're going to go bankrupt, it was more, actually the video was titled "A Warning for Why Investors Should Sell So They Don't Lose All Their Money." And yeah, like I said, people just called me out. They said I got it wrong. I was an idiot. And unfortunately, what happened was Fisker did go bankrupt only a few months later. And this meant that owners of the cars have had huge problems getting spare parts for them. The Fisker Ocean is the poster child for why a pretty design and a flashy startup story are not enough to go and spend huge amounts of money, whether that's investing in a company or buying a car from them. The problem: Fisker filed for bankruptcy in June 2024, turning the Ocean into an orphaned EV overnight. The model originally launched from US 39,000 to US 69,000, which works out to around 54,500 Australian to 100,000 Australian. EPA range was 372 to 580 kilometers, which is 230 to 360 miles. Not bad. But here's the really shocking part. Reuters reported Fisker recalled more than 12,000 Ocean vehicles over door handles that could stick and fail to open, and recalled more than 11,000 vehicles over software and compliance issues. That's bad enough on its own. But it's much worse when the car company no longer exists and you can't find parts to actually fix your car because they aren't being made anymore. Why this is the worst, well, one of the worst cars, it is not just about bugs or recalls, and there's been a lot of bugs, I can tell you. It is that a car costing up to US $70,000 can leave owners asking a basic question no new car buyer should ever have to ask. Who is actually going to support this car long term? Number 3, the Jaguar I-PACE. This is the recurring fireball machine, unfortunately, and it's honestly had Probably the number one car responsible for many people believing that electric cars will set themselves on fire. This is what happened when a premium EV's battery problem drags on and on and on. In fact, I know of personally more than 30 of these incinerating themselves and just burning themselves to the ground. In Australia, the I-PACE started at a price of $147,500. That's about US 105,000. It had 446 kilometers of range. That's 277 miles. Now, if you include inflation, as that was a long time ago, the price was closer to 170,000. But Jaguar has recalled many times affected vehicles because of batteries overheating and sometimes setting themselves on fire. But the recalls haven't ever really worked. Jaguar's February 2026 NHTSA recall filing says vehicles have experienced thermal overload that may show as smoke or fire, and says modules identified by the remedy software have characteristics of a folded anode tab that contributes or creates the fire problem. Australian owners of affected vehicles and US owners and UK owners and owners everywhere were told not to charge above 90%. That means the already limited range of about 445 kilometers is cut to 400 kilometers in an expensive vehicle. Guys, this is the worst. This cost a lot of money. Jaguar doesn't even make cars anymore. They say they're going to make some EV at some point in the future, but that's been dragging on forever. Right now, Jaguar is basically a non-existent car company. Mazda MX-30 takes fourth place. Guys, why does this car even exist? Was it a compliance car? I don't know. But it's a dead car now. And it died because no one was buying it. A beautiful interior cannot save a car with a battery smaller than a battery in many plug-in hybrids. Yeah, I'm just going to repeat that. The battery was smaller than the battery in many plug-in hybrids. The problem, the MX-30 EV launched at a price of 65,000 Australian dollars. That's around US 47,000. But it uses a tiny 35 kilowatt hour battery, which also wasn't very energy dense either. Australian reviews said its official range was 220 kilometers. That's 138 miles. So yeah, that was NEDC. That means WLTP range was probably around 200 kilometers. For that price, I mean, US 47,000 or 66,000 Australian dollars, you got a car with only about 200 kilometers of range and pretty slow charging. As you can imagine, consumers eventually figured that, this car wasn't really a good idea for that kind of money, and Mazda cancelled the vehicle. Toyota's BZ4X and Subaru Solterra is in fifth place. And why is it in fifth place? Now, first, I have to be very, very specific here. I'm not referencing the new model, the BZ4X, the Subaru Solterra, the 2026 version. That's actually not a bad car. It's not class leading, but it's got actually much better range and it's cheaper. So it's a better car than the previous model and it's cheaper than the previous model. But Toyota's first proper EV will forever be remembered for one of the most embarrassing recalls in modern automotive history. And I can tell you, even if you're a Toyota fan, you've got to admit this was a royal cock-up. The BZ4X became infamous because its wheel hub bolts could loosen, creating the possibility that the wheels could just fly off when you're driving. This was not a minor teething issue. It took them 6 months. Toyota has more than 100,000 engineers, and it took their engineers more than 6 months to work out how to stop the bolts that hold the wheels on from loosening and the wheels falling off the car. And this is not me making this up. This was from Toyota directly themselves. The latest Australian BZ4X is a much improved vehicle on paper. Toyota now says it starts at a price of 56,000. Yeah, so the current models are decent, but I wouldn't buy the first generation model. It was too expensive and its range was well below all of its rivals, pretty much all of them. And it was more expensive than them all. The car was just a catastrophic failure. In addition to that, in a test in Norway in winter, the car got around 190 kilometers of range. In the cold, it just didn't function. Now that's been changed. It's actually, like I said, a much better vehicle. The Lexus RZ. And guys, this legitimately was, for the money, one of the worst value cars in the history of EVs. Lexus took a flawed EV formula and tried to sell it as a premium product. What's the problem? Well, the original Australian RZ, or not Australian, but the original global RZ 450e Luxury, launched at a price of $122,000. That's US 87,000. The sports luxury was $134,000 plus on-road costs, which is 96,000 US dollars. Range 395 kilometers. That's 245 miles. On the EPA cycle, range was around 200 miles. They also said you should not expect to achieve that range in real-world use. So how far could you get in the real world? I don't know, but car sales was blunt. They said the RZ was expensive. It doesn't travel as far as its rivals, and you could not expect to achieve the 395 kilometers of range. Not even close, even though it cost $140,000. The numbers, the market clearly agreed because Lexus has now slashed the price. The updated RZ 500e is about $30,000 cheaper. And it has a lot more range. It now has 460 kilometers of range, which is 286 miles. Don't buy the original version of this car. If you absolutely need to buy a Lexus, the updated version is a much better deal. Number 7, the Maserati GranTurismo Folgore. This was like a $500,000 bolt, essentially. This is a beautiful car, but a spectacularly difficult EV to justify. And it's worth pointing out that Maserati, they're selling so few cars currently worldwide that they're almost a dead company. In Australia, car sales shows the GranTurismo Folgore cost $490,000 drive away. That's US 351,000. 351,000 US dollars. Range 450 kilometers. That's 280 miles. This might be the most expensive car per kilometer or per mile of range in the world. The numbers, $500,000 for 450 kilometers of range and really no spectacular features whatsoever means that yes, this was an exotic car. Was it fast? Yes, but not as fast as some cars that cost a fraction of the price. This is a dollars per kilometer basis EV, the worst value car that I'm aware of. 8th place is the Mercedes-Benz G580, basically the G-Wagon it's been turned into an EV, and it wasn't a ground-up EV. That's part of the problem. This was basically taking an internal combustion vehicle and just hijacking it and making it an electric. I call it the electric brick, mostly because it's shaped like a brick. The electric G-Wagon proves that electrifying an icon does not make it actually sensible or logical or a good idea to, part with $250,000 in order to get one. In Australia, the G580 starts at $250,000, which is US 180,000. It has a range of 473 kilometers. Yeah, seriously. The numbers, however you slice it, this is a wildly expensive SUV. It's shaped like a brick. It's got a big battery, but because of the shape of the car, it's just not a great vehicle. And let's be honest, if you don't make an EV from the ground up, then it has to be compromised, which this is. Number 9, the GMC Hummer EV. This is actually not a bad vehicle, but in principle, it's utterly ridiculous. I call it the anti-EV EV. The Hummer EV is not terrible because it is slow or cheap. It's terrible because it feels like a parody of the EV movement itself. It is kind of grotesque in its weight. I like to think of it as being obese. GMC says the 2026 Hummer EV SUV starts at $100,000, 97,000 US dollars. That's about 136,000 Australian. It has 319 miles of EPA range, 513 kilometers, and that's achievable. The numbers on paper actually aren't catastrophic, but it's what sits underneath those numbers, the huge size, the huge weight, the huge battery needed to get this thing moving, or actually give it some decent range, I should say, and the absolutely huge excess. It is the heaviest EV. It weighs nearly 4 tons. It's a monstrosity. Number 10, the Audi e-tron, Q8 e-tron. This is the 80% forever car. Just going to repeat that, the 80% forever car. This is the premium EV story that became a battery anxiety story. You'd expect, spending the kind of money these cars cost, that you'd have a trouble-free vehicle that you wouldn't have to think about. The problem, the official recall notice says certain Audi e-tron vehicles had defective battery cells that could short circuit, trigger thermal overload, and result in a vehicle fire. Owners were urgently told to charge the high voltage battery only to a maximum of 80% and never to go above that. The numbers, Audi says the Q8 e-tron uses a 114 kilowatt hour battery, that's pretty big, and can DC fast charge at 170 kilowatt, which is quite slow for a car costing $150,000. With around 450 kilometers or 280 miles of range, the value was never there in the first place. At a price of around $100,000 or 141,000 Australian, it's an expensive vehicle, which you would expect to work well. Now, once you are telling premium EV owners to avoid using the top 20% of their battery, not to avoid, to absolutely don't use it at all, then you've kind of broken the ownership experience. This is the worst, one of the worst cars, because buyers are paying for convenience and confidence at this price level. An 80% charge warning destroys both of those. So, to summarize, we have the Toyota Hilux EV, the Fisker Ocean, the Jaguar I-PACE, the Mazda MX-30, the BZ4X and Subaru Solterra, the first generation version, the Lexus RZ, the Maserati GranTurismo Folgore, the Mercedes-Benz G-Class EV, the GMC Hummer EV, and the Audi e-tron Q8 e-tron. Guys, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with my list? Is there a car you'd swap out and put into my top 10? If there is, let me know. Thanks for watching. Need expert advice on what car to buy, what solar system to get, what home battery to get, or potentially for your business? You can get, guys, a one-on-one consultation directly with me, 60 minutes of tailored guidance. This might help you avoid making a huge mistake spending money when you shouldn't, or potentially save you a massive amount of money. Click the link in the description below because I can assist you, and why not? The link is in the description. Thinking about getting solar, a home battery, or an EV charger? Check out Australia's best free comparison tool because it could save you a lot of money. Guys, click on the link below in the description and you can see how much you can save. Alternatively, give Resync a call. They are the guys who installed my battery and my home solar. I'll put a link to them as well in the description.